Hi, beautiful mamas from around the world. How's it? And welcome back to Mothering in the Dark. Welcome to our contemplation station today, where our theme is motherhood. And as always, our focus, our inspiration, and our intention is on igniting you. For those of you who are new, I feel like today we're shifting gears in that we are inviting a lot more personal information into our contemplation. In the last 3 episodes, we've been looking at different levels of you. The contemplation space is just beyond the duality of right and wrong. And the purpose of contemplation is to open up the space of the many different changes, goals, intentions that you're bringing into your life to create the bigger picture and the space for exponential growth, for all the different parts of you to collaborate and, well, first of all, come to light, because that's the nature of newness and exploring ourselves, and to bring in the past and the present so that we can locate you where you are at. For today, it will be in your hood of mothering. So a little bit of a trigger warning or a disclaimer in that contemplation is the space that doesn't replace any therapy or exercise or programs that you have in your life, but it's a space where we open the playing ground that you play in your inner life and your outer life, to bring the uniqueness of you and the subtleties of you and the information of you into the consideration or the contemplation of whichever topic it is that we're working with. So if you would like to go back and, our last session, we looked at the circular nature of change and our growing process. And this is because often when we are going through, when we are releasing or sitting with the familiar of what we've always known and what we've always practiced, and we are experiencing either the evolving or boom, the awareness of something very new and very different about ourselves, the adjustment process can sometimes feel like we're swinging, and that can invite doubt and, it can become quite hectic or intense, depending on the tension between the dualities. The being able to sort of allow that integration process between what might feel like 2 extremes is circular in nature, and being able to remember that or perhaps even contemplate it invites compassion and allows something to hold that swing of, one day I'm ignited and I'm inspired and I can see the way clearly, and then the next day I feel quite frozen by guilt or paralyzed by the details and the nuts and bolts of it. So you may want to go back, or you may want to just come in today fresh and new and see what you find. So as always, we start by locating you. We move just beyond the tension of the opposite of, what was expected and what was unexpected. And we come just into you where you are now. And this is often best punctuated just by a deep breath in and out and a message to your general being. I am here now. So let's locate you and bring information, and let's do it from the perspective of just looking at if any of these, what expectations of our motherhood or what we thought motherhood would be create pain between what we actually did experience or bring up pain, discomfort or darkness or stuckness, or if you feel that you're in it right now, trust your own resonance. You know, if it feels okay for you to look at the information, then do so. But if it triggers something in you or hits a very sore space, then rather stop and keep working with, you know, the therapeutic or the you know, the support that you have generated as you are processing or moving through that space of perhaps a very painful reality or a very painful disappointment. Okay. And there's nothing wrong with staying light. There's nothing wrong with just looking at the information and not necessarily going into your emotional body and the past experience. You can hold yourself in the present experience by looking at just the result or just the thought or information that you're able to connect with and remember now. Because always your sense of feeling secure and feeling contained in anything that you're doing is absolutely important, and it's an act of self-love, but it's also preservation of your sanity. So don't work with pushing yourself too far. Listen, it might come up as boredom and say, like, I don't want to go there, or nah, not now, I'm not there now. Or, you know, it might take you deeper and feel interesting and that you're ready to be looking at this contemplation about you from this perspective. Okay, so let's jump in to you and begin with, you know, how you came into motherhood. Your hood is so unique, right? And this is not to make you feel alone at all, because there are many shared experiences in motherhood. But the nuances and the synchronicities and the idiosyncrasies of the people and the places and your thoughts and your experience and the time that you're at in your life, that is all you, okay? Not on you, it's all you. It's where you've been, what you've done, it's where you're at now. And that's information when we are just beyond the rightness or the wrongness of it. We're looking at what is or what was. Okay, so what was your dream of motherhood? And this could be quite funny, because often our dream of motherhood began when we were very young, you know. So let the ideal come through. Let the innocence and the purity of what you thought, or the naivety of what you thought, be there. If the part of your dream was actually more on the spectrum of, I don't want to be a mom, then being a mom will make my life complete. You know, realizing also like the in-between of that spectrum. You know, you might have felt ambivalence. You might have felt completely open to, well, let's see how the chips fall. Let's see how my partner feels about it. Or it might have been like, I cannot wait. So locate yourself with absolutely no judgment in what your dream was about motherhood. And within motherhood, you know, it being a hood and all, it's not really something where you are in alone. So what was the fantasy of family? You know, did you think you'd have girls? Did you think you'd have boys? Did you want your oldest one? Did you want twins? Were you hoping for a pigeon pair? Did you think you'd be a stay-at-home mom? Did you always know that you'd be a working mom? did you imagine that you're doing it with a partner or with a team, you know? That's a good fantasy when there's a big team. You could even, you know, if you wanted to go into like what added to that fantasy, you know, was there a particular home that you went to that you're like, that's what I like, I want it to be like that, you know? Our dream and our fantasy, well, everything that we expected will have an element of, I want this because it wasn't there in my family, or, you know, I want this because it was there and I loved it. And, you know, the in between. Right, and then with our motherhood, you know, who represented mother in your life? And how did that sit with you? Were you raised by someone who wasn't necessarily the person who gave birth to you? And thus received like your maternal figure from someone else? And, you know, how was your sense of belonging? You know, what did you take from that? Because it doesn't, you know, how you took it. Maybe you were raised by your biological mom, but there was someone else who was a maternal figure. Maybe you were raised by a real great mom who was your biological mom and all, but there were other women in your life who also influenced what motherhood looked like. And, you know, what did you take from these people in your life? What did it bring to you? I always find that so interesting. I mean, we come from a family of 5, but what we took from the same parents and similar situations and similar teachings it's so varied. And yeah, I suppose that's also a part of motherhood, hey, is you actually have no control over, you know, how your children receive and take your intentions and your actions. So just connecting and locating in with you and what you picked up from your own experience around like being the maternal figure or being the mother, or running this, what sometimes feels like your own little personal industry of motherhood. And what was the cultural messaging around motherhood that you received? I can remember, okay, so this is 80s and this is, you know, kind of Catholic, conservative, like country, like upbringing where, and it seems quite weird now, but the cultural messaging was really that, you know, divorce was, you know, equaled a broken family, single mother. You know, there was stuff around the inadequacy of one person doing a 2-man, I mean, it's a village job really here. But yeah, what was the cultural messaging, and how did your sort of childhood, was it more of a village feeling, or was it a single mother broken feeling, you know? Did it feel that the cultural messaging was supportive and communicated strength? Were there things that felt very like, you know, rubbed you up the wrong way and did not resonate with you at all? Were there elements of the cultural messaging that felt suffocating, or were there elements that felt liberating? Yeah, have your think about what the cultural messaging was. And then also, I mean, depending on if you're a young mother now, then part of that cultural messaging is also, you know, what the media is saying, and you know, what was that advertising and the social media, and women coming into power, and or whether that's in corporation, the working mother, the single mother, the president mother, and what does that communicate about motherhood? I think here often in like our cultural messaging, there's a subtle message of what are the expected sacrifices that you must make in motherhood, and what are the expected sort of practices that you should be doing with your children and for your children, and which ones did you like, and what did you take from that, and have they sort of receded into the realms of that was a sweet dream, but my reality is different and it's better, or my reality is different and it's painful, whatever that might be? Or is it something that feels quite fixed and tight now, that I may consider that I've failed? So just being aware, don't go into whether you failed or not, but of what the cultural messaging was for you, and how that has influenced, I suppose, your sense of feeling that you belong to motherhood, or the conditions that you might have felt needed to be present so that you could claim with pride this hood of motherhood. And then another element which I'd like you to go with as lightly as possible is, how did you end up becoming a mother? In my childhood, it seemed that there was only one way really that you became a mom, but in my adulthood, what I've realized is there are many pathways that lead to motherhood. And noticing what they have been for you, and holding it in that space of so this is how I came into it. And there's dynamics to that, either imposed by myself or maybe you're free of it. Maybe there was ambivalence towards how you became a mother. Maybe there's a deep sense of cultural failure or even taboo. I know that in Africa that there are a lot of cultures where adoption is a taboo, and I know that this extends to a lot of cultures globally, where your ability to birth a child, maybe even particularly a certain gender of child, very much influences how much power or peace or satisfaction or pleasure or growth you allow yourself to experience in motherhood. And anything else that is unique to you, or that colors in like your expectation or your dream of coming into being a mother, that may unfold for you as you contemplated what you expected. And if you've been a mum, even if you've only been a mum for a few months, or you're in the early stages of your motherhood, what is coming through that has been like rather unexpected, that you actually couldn't have dreamed or thought or even studied in your preparation for motherhood? This is information and very much in the realm of what is unique to you, though we can share it, and it is shared, but how it's and when, and it it manifested for you, or you experienced it, or you had that realization, is so you and for you, you know. So, and I think the beauty of looking at the unexpected is that the part of us that was so natural, or is so natural, that we didn't necessarily see it as something in and of itself, or the distinctive role that it plays in our life. I found certainly that motherhood has a way of, you know, squeezing this out of us, or demonstrating, often in hindsight, bringing to our attention some of the natural abilities and isness inside of us, and the one being instinct. And I think particularly like when you're in that space of newborn baby or young kids, or acquainting yourself with a child, you know, even if they've come to you when they're older, there is that new beginning time where you are connecting and bonding and getting to know each other. And the beauty of this is you actually picking up a lot of information that, you know, for lack of a better word, seems invisible, feels invisible. And your instinct and your intuition is very much heightened, you know, as your role of mother, connecting with this child who may be non-verbal, you know, when they come. If we're talking about a brand new baby, you got nothing to really work with except for, you know, their patterns and their sounds. And so a lot of your instinct and intuition is in full swing there. I remember it was the first baby that we had in the baby house. So we got like 3 newborns all within like a few days of each other. But they were my first in the baby house. And there was so much going on there, because first of all I had like triplets, and we were figuring it out, and there's a lot of paying attention to detail and setting up the structure and creating the environment, you know. But it was when something unplanned was evoked out of me that it actually really tickled me, and it did create a sense of security or reassurance that, you know, there's something in me. My nature's kind of on my side. Now, I remember waking up like from a deep sleep and finding myself walking towards the nursery and right up to one specific cot, and putting my hand on my baby's head and feeling that he had like a temperature, which, as you know, with newborns, it requires vigilance. And yeah, there was a night nurse, and yeah, the babies were checked on every 2 hours if they were, you know, once they'd stabilized. Otherwise, they were under constant supervision. And he had a bottle, like an hour, something to drink, you know, an hour and 15 minutes before that, and there wasn't a temperature there. So I was just so tickled at how, in a totally different room, in the depth of my sleep, without even having my thought process, or, you know, what is on board, there I was just standing above this baby and you know, recognizing that he had a temperature, and then we were able to attend to it. And that's, though there were many situations that one tickled me very much, you know. So the quick instincts, and how our instincts play a role, is something beautiful to contemplate and worthy information to bring in. And then the role that our intuition plays. So, I mean, not that I'm trying to define or distinguish the two, but and forgive the sound of the garden instruments outside. But instinct has always felt almost like it's happening before I can think about it. It feels more like, you know, a command that my body's following before my head is really kicked in. Whereas intuition has always felt like it's added information that's colouring in the situation. Sorry for that interruption. We had to get that weed eater quiet. Okay, so yeah, intuition, I was saying, feels almost like it's adding information, though not exclusive to, but just for the sake of maybe being able to zone in a little bit more on where your intuition is playing a role and how it does, because there's so many different ways, you know. I know in like new age thinking that, you know, we want to, there's an idea that you either have premonitions or you telepathic or you, you know, have vision or you hear things or you feel things, and we don't need to put that into different silos or distinguish it, because while all of those beautiful clairsentient attributes is something that I've studied and developed and you know, I'm very connected with, my awareness is that in motherhood, it's really an open space for anything to come in at any time and have like a once-off experience of, you know, for example, I was concerned about, I couldn't quite pinpoint what was going on with one of my sons because he seemed to be having an allergic reaction, and I had taken everything that I knew he was allergic to out of his diet and out of our home. Well, out of his diet. I hadn't taken it out of our home. And I was feeling a bit like, you know, befuddled, because his reaction was so uncomfortable and so physical. I mean, his body like blistered. And I felt, you know, a sense of, you know, should I, you know, what next should I be going into? Like looking at it, should we run more tests? You know, and within a dream, I had a dream, and all I saw was him going to the fridge and drinking cow's milk. And yeah, when I addressed that with him, I realized that was actually the source of it. Why I had the dream about it, I don't know. Have I had lots of other you know, would I say that I have premonitions and, you know, predictive dreaming? Not necessarily as an ongoing thing, you know. It's not something I would advertise or claim as a talent, but at certain times, the way my intuition has communicated to me has been so varied. So allowing your intuition to be open and not attaching yourself to, oh, does that, you know, make me this, or allowing it to be what it is and to bring information to you from the other levels of you, so that we don't have to only work with what we can think of and what we can deduce and what we've researched, you know. And then, yeah, sometimes, I mean, intuition has even been when we're in a moment that is very intense or, you know, potentially traumatic, and the trip switch of like, I don't know what to do, is so clear that it almost opens up a spontaneous response that wouldn't necessarily be in your nature or on your in your pocket of previous experience, but in that moment it is what needs to happen, or it is what happens, and it is what sort of redirects the situation. So it's a beautiful thing to contemplate, is your intuition, and the more you have a conversation with it or ponder it, you know, the more it expands and the more it gets onto your timeline as a source of information that you come to trust, or develop in different ways. And then also, you know, maybe it's going into guidance as well. I certainly started off, embarked on motherhood feeling that my guidance would probably come from, you know, the academic realm, or asking someone who's a little bit further along the way, you know, got more experience in it. And this has been true. But how the guidance has come to me, you know, has been unexpected. And not only like from the intuitive, but also from, you know, coming across like an article, or a mom sharing something, or a song, or someone saying something that tunes into the conversation or the question that I'm holding or seeking the guidance on, and how that's been revealed. And this is where synchronicity and you know, just the bigger picture has a lot more space to come in. And maybe it doesn't give you 100% assurance around getting an answer, but I think when we contemplate how guidance has come into our life in unexpected ways, it does create the space and a sense of, you know, well, I'll leave space for the chance that it might be easy, or that I'll know when I know. It might create space for, okay, I'm going to put this down for 72 hours, or for, you know, 3 minutes, and just allow the space. And it's often because, you know, when we realize that we've experienced it before and it happens before, that sureness feels a little bit more sure, and we are able to allow like an empty space to be there. And yeah, what is unexpected? What were the unexpected failures? And once again, just look at the facts, look at the results, look at what was, because I'm not advocating it, but the experience of sometimes, like when it feels like the frustration and the pressure has gotten too much, and quite serendipitously, I've ended up writing out like the shittiest story, you know, just looking at like motherhood through like the lens where it's been a succession of unfairness and, you know, disappointment and hard, and, you know, where it hasn't made sense. And there are times when we do very much accumulate ourselves and our experience in, you know, one side of the story, and sometimes just putting that down and looking at like the unexpected weaknesses. You know, I didn't, yeah, there was a realization that was very unexpected, and I never considered that one of my weaknesses might be emotional dysregulation at times, and in certain dynamics, in certain relationships, you know. I didn't expect that I had that many triggers still open for triggering, considering, you know, before I became a mom, I'd been very much in the field and the knowledge and the experience of parenting or working with children and healing trauma, and yeah, so that was unexpected. But the failures and the weaknesses, you know, first time around they might feel raw and painful, you know, but to have that list there and to be able to look at it and say like, yeah, all of that happened, no doubt, you know, but what was happening and what was I doing while that was going on, you know, what else was happening? Not to poo-poo or gloss over any of the failures or weaknesses, but being allowed to bring them in as valuable information, and not scarlet letters, and not identities, because they are valuable information. They're one-sided, you know. So bring it in. Go as far as feels safe for you. And yeah, these are personal. And then of course also what unexpected, so I wrote superpowers, and if that feels like too much for you, like we're going into fantasy, then just look at strengths and powers, you know. But the reason why I put superpowers is because what was unexpected is that I had qualities that were qualities, or you might have even said like in my personality or in my nature, that through motherhood, and yeah, often because of the failures and the weaknesses, I've realized that they're not just nice attributes, or they're not just like good characters. They actually are powers. So they are qualities about myself that give me power in situations. But they also power me and keep me coming back, you know, or persevering or going deeper. And so some of the powers or the superpowers that I lean into, or that I've realized are more than and actually very supportive, is my sense of humor. Not to, you know, laugh things away, or sometimes it's completely the most loving and healthiest response is to, as we say in South Africa, just laugh it off, you know, laugh it off. Or I've heard some mums saying, okay, shake it off, because we don't need to stop and attend to and ruminate over everything. We can notice it and be like, okay. So sense of humor is definitely something that I see how it's been able to hold a space to work with the complicated and the new possibility, and to help the integration. And that it's there at the right time in the right amount, to help my own emotional body cope. But that it doesn't, you know, disrespect or dishonor my feeling and the experience. Adaptability is another one, and you know, the ability to move on and cope and keep on keeping on in the face of like our failures, our weaknesses, what is working against us, and yeah, what is hard, what is stress, and or when things just change, you know, when the dream I had, you know, it didn't involve, you know, of course I wanted my kids to go to school, but the details didn't say that I might need to explore many different kinds of schools and feel a sense of like failure and rejection as I was trying to navigate through what was the right school for my child, and that I'd have to, you know, fend off a lot of the cultural messaging from the olden days, or the peanut gallery, or, you know, my current social group and their perspectives of motherhood, you know. Curiosity is another superpower, because even when things have no right to my attention, because that's what I've decided, and you know, many might agree, the curiosity that is there in me, that it's not there because I tell myself, okay, get curious, because that's the strength. That it's something that is almost tirelessly there, of like, let's look at another perspective of, I wonder what this is telling us. I'm sure there must be another option. A superpower which I think many of us may share in and have experienced in the last few years is our resourcefulness. And I think that's with adaptability. I always considered, you know, organization and things being neat and ordered was obviously something that I took up and developed and enjoyed, and or came naturally to me in my childhood. But it was so a part of me that I didn't realize how much of a superpower it actually is, and how much of a strength it is, and how, you know, naturally it comes to me that I can actually create a sense of organization, which is a healing space for a lot of the kids in my life, or people, clients and stuff like that, who it doesn't feel natural to be organized, and it feels completely overwhelming, you know. And then another two that I put down here is, I think, my reliability. It's also not something that I consciously was aware of how strong it is inside of me, that to be clear about what I'm agreeing to and to show up on time, and especially I would say like where this has been developed is very much with working with kids who unpredictability has been their monster, their pain, you know, and just the clarity of the reliability and the attentiveness that comes with reliability, the awareness that someone else feels safe and secure by me following through on my behavior. And I wouldn't say that it's not something that wasn't developed, but I would say that it's something that has revealed its power in motherhood for me. And so in the unexpected, you know, and it's connecting in with what powers us, with, you know, what we're working with, what is naturally there, and how this has all colored in and colors in our very own field, or our very own playing ground, our very own territory of motherhood, and how we're experiencing it, and what it's igniting in us, and where it's sort of navigating us, and you know, how we, you know, the magnificence and the mystery of us, how it all comes together and supports the very, you know, physical and practical parts of us. So this, Mother Dears, is our contemplation today on motherhood. And while I was doing my contemplation about it, and I think also after the last episode where we looked at our circular nature of change, it reminded me of the beautiful T.S. Eliot poem that says, "We shall not cease from exploration, and the end of all our exploring will be to arrive where we started and know the place for the first time." And I think we are doing this over and over in motherhood, where it feels like not necessarily that we're going like back and forth and, you know, am I this or am I not that, but that we keep on coming back to the beginning of it, and we see it for the first time. And this allows, you know, a compassionate past review, which frees us up in our movement, you know, and it allows us to honor you know, where we came from, what we took on, where we felt we belonged, and connect us all with where we are now, and finding the truth for us and our location for us in our very own personal and shared experience of motherhood. So thank you so much, moms around the world, for joining me today for another contemplation. Remember that I post every Tuesday and Thursday, and I'd love to hear if anything resonates with you, or if there's a specific topic that you would like us to contemplate, or if you just generally like to share where you're at and how you're feeling. Please feel free to like and subscribe, and let us know how you are, and lots of love until the next time.